let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Would you say that because the biomechanical aspect of what he's doing, it's cool. It's cool, and I think it's pretty great that he's added that into a lot of people's training. Would you say that then the more beneficial thing is like, okay, you see what all these bodybuilders are doing, let's add in these movements that apparently have biomechanical efficiency into what they're doing, and marry the two. Or, what do you think about that? Do you think that's the most practical approach to take here?
Well, if that's like saying, well, high reps might work, but what if we take what Dorian Yates was doing and then we throw 15 more sets of high rep training in there as well? Would that make him bigger? No, it'd probably overtrain him, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, or how about these guys that hook on? And this is, I'm not taking a jab at this, but I am in a sense.
Yeah.
The EMS machines that now are big. People like train with those EMS pads on them. Yeah. I mean, everyone's, I feel it so much. I've interviewed a lot of guys. I feel it. I want to work out. I was sore the next day. I'm like, yeah, but did you get any bigger from it? Probably not. Maybe you're just sore from the muscle. If I stand here and I take my cell phone and I contract my muscle, flexing this cell phone for 20 minutes straight, okay, I'm going to be sore the next day. Is my bicep going to grow bigger because of that? Probably not. But right, soreness doesn't mean that you're getting bigger. It just means you did something that you're not used to doing, and it's sore, the muscle, because of that. If I go run 10 miles, which I can't do, but if I did it, I'd be super sore the next day. It doesn't mean I'm going to make progress as far as a bodybuilder goes in the right direction. So, you don't, if you know what works, okay, do you think you can make Big Ramy any bigger because he's going to put the EMS pads on, or he's going to do any more of those little, Doug Brignoli, exercises? Probably not, because what he's doing is maximizing already what his muscle hypertrophy, curve. It's like, I always tell people say, if I take HCG in addition to my cycle, will I grow better? I said, well, if I give you a handful of sandy to throw it on the beach, is there more sand on the beach? Yeah, but can you even notice it? No, of course.
Doug, I feel that Dave didn't really hear the question well, because he was talking about fatigue and other stuff. Like the question, from what I understood, is there a place for these exercises with the big lifts?
Boy, there were so many things in there. I almost wish that we could have stopped at each one.
I can go back and we can stop.
Well, let me just do this and maybe we'll do that. But there were so many things. Like each example that Dave gave had a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, for example, what Nsima said was, can you add that?
Yeah.
Well, what Dave said is correct. I mean, you don't take a guy who's done a full workout for a particular muscle and then throw some more of maybe good stuff, or maybe even if it's better stuff, you don't throw more. I mean, maximum effort in a workout is maximum effort. You can overtrain, right? So we're not saying.
Yeah.
So now what maybe Dave could have done is he could have said, well, so instead of adding to a full regular workout of the traditional stuff, you do half of each. You marry them, as Nsima said, but you marry them by subtracting enough from this one to add this one so that you're not overtraining in that workout. That might have at least started to make more sense. It makes sense to not do too much, right? So that was the first, I guess you could say, misinterpretation, is that you wouldn't do that. And a lot of the examples that Dave gave right there are not anywhere near like flexing with the cell phone. It's like, yeah, I would agree with you that that's not going to make your bicep bigger. I would agree with you that if you took HCG on top of everything else, that's like throwing sand on the beach. It can't hurt, but it's not going to help. Those are all good examples, but they're not analogous.
No, but how they relate to the question.
Yeah. So here's what, and I'm laughing because, when Dave said, look, you're not going to give Big Ramy Doug Brignoli exercises and make him bigger, and Nsima laughed. Well, he laughed because, you could tell he has an emotional investment in the way that Big Ramy is training, right? So to someone who has that emotional investment, that idea does sound ridiculous, does sound preposterous. That's not what we're suggesting. We're not suggesting that Big Ramy continue doing everything he's been doing and then also add some Brignoli exercises and that he's going to get bigger. That is the last thing that we're saying. We're not saying that. So to someone who interprets it that way and throws it out there, yeah, you could say that's laughable, right? That's not what we're saying at all. What we're talking about is efficiency. That's all we're talking about is efficiency. Can you build a big Ramy build using Brignoli methods, Brignoli exercises, if everything else is the same?
Yeah, everything else
is the same. Can you? And the answer is yes, because the muscles that grow from compound movements don't know that other muscles are working at the same time. All they know is that they're working. And all you have to do is create that environment for that muscle, whether it's by itself or with other muscles at the same time, in order for that muscle to experience what it needs to experience in order to grow, period. So if you do that separately, all the muscles separately, you're going to have the same end result as if you worked all the muscles simultaneously or in groups of 3 or 4, right? The muscles don't know, don't care, right? So the answer logically is yes, you can get the same result. But here's what I recommend. And when Andrew said in the previous video, he said, you know, we believe in the big 3. We like the big 3. The first thing I would say is, okay, let's kind of dissect that. Why do you believe in the big 3? Why do you like the big 3? And what you would find if you kind of keep pushing why, what you discover is that part of the like is the feeling of moving a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. That is gratifying. That is gratifying to feel a bar bending on your back, to feel it landing, to feel your ability to move something that maybe would have crushed you, 6 months ago. There's no doubt that that's gratifying. Mm-hmm. That's a separate issue. That has nothing to do with whether or not a muscle is being optimally loaded for growth. And what ends up happening inevitably is that people like belonging to a club. People like camaraderie, right? This is why when people, let's just say you, me, and 5 other guys, we all decide to buy a motorcycle. And then we say, hey, let's just go for a group motorcycle. What do? We become kind of a little mini motorcycle gang. We might even dress the part. We put on our leather jackets. We put on, our gloves. We put on, what do bicyclists do? They dress up like they're on Tour de France, right? Yeah. Because they're part of a group. What do yoga people do? Oh, they carry their yoga mat under their arm. They say namaste, right? They're part of a group, right? And people like that. And it's such a subconscious liking it that you conflate the value of an exercise with whether or not it's, actually productive for the muscle, whether the muscle is getting optimally loaded and getting full range of motion and getting early phase loading and getting opposite position loading and avoiding bilateral deficit and reciprocal innervation and active insufficiency without any interference. You're confusing that with this gratification of moving a lot of weight, being part of a club, you and your boys, you guys all meet here at noon on Tuesdays and you guys all bench press, and you guys all slap each other in the back and, ridicule each other and make fun of each other. And that's a whole different thing. So if you're able, and not everyone is, if you're able to separate the logic and the emotion, then you're able to see the value of doing an isolation exercise that has early phase loading, full range of motion, et cetera, and that same muscle participation in a compound exercise doesn't have as much loading, doesn't have as much range of motion, doesn't have early phase loading, has this interference going on, this neurological interference going on with it. Then you understand that, guess what? I can get results with less effort, with less pain, with less injury risk. Now, if that appeals to you, great. If what appeals to you is the whole machismo, slap on the back, bro science, fine. We're not going to say don't do that, but we can absolutely quantify the difference for you if you like.
Mm-hmm.